Hi, my name is Chelsea Urban, and I am here to do my Kenra technical interview. I'm going to tell you a little bit about why I love Kenra color. Today, we are going to perform on our mannequin. Your first step is always a good consultation. I always find that the most important. It builds your client's trust. I kind of like to ask what are you loving about your hair right now? It gives you insight on what makes them feel like them. And then I also like to ask, what is it that you would like to change? When I spoke with her this morning, we talked about she has a little bit of gray that she's not happy with. The first step would be to go in and do the roots first, because Kenra color all is great with the gray coverage. However, it needs to sit a little longer, so I like to put that about 40 minutes. So I like to put that on first, and so that's what I'm going to do. I absolutely love Kenra color. They use a balancing complex 5. Basically, we ask and they listen. But really what that means is it's just kind of the 5 things that they feel like our color needs. Manageability, an intense shine, long lasting, gray coverage. So basically I'm just going around the hairline first. Typically when our clients go gray, they go around the hairline. I like to do that first because it gives it more of that coverage. Really always loved Kenra. About 5 years ago is when I was first introduced. The color line had just recently come out and we were not unable to use it where we were at. So I was really sad about that, but I learned a lot about the company and the products at that time. During the time I am coloring their hair, as I'm doing the consultation, for instance, I'm touching and feeling their hair. I'm looking at scalp conditions to see if maybe a shampoo regimen is, rather it be volume or moisture. I think it's always important to be able to kind of solve those problems for our clients, because that's what they come here for, us to educate them and help them. Another thing, when you're doing your consultation, you should be checking what their natural levels are. In this case, she is a natural, probably about between a 5 and a 6. So that tells me a few things. It tells me her undertone is definitely at about an orange undertone. So when I'm lifting, I know I'm going to have to lift either past that orange stage or use something to tone out the warmth. We're kind of shifting her tone more or less, but you can shift the tone just by your developers. The 10 volumes usually used more if you're kind of tone on tone and possible gray coverage, whereas 20 volumes is going to give you one level of lift and kind of I normally use the 20 volume if they're like let's say a 5B, and I'd like to shift them over to more of a neutral. In this case, we're just using a 5 and B at her root. Another good thing with Kenra Professional is they incorporate, that skill set to where you can kind of know what you're doing as you're going through. So they do offer different techniques that help you kind of achieve that quicker. However, you can still be pretty creative with it. So I love that because I'm a very creative person. And all of their color, use a 1:1 ratio. That gives you your gray cover. I'm going to do some highlights to kind of parallel to the hairline. That's going to help that even flow. I'm going to weave them out so that it gets that natural flow. Kind of gives it some contrast through there. And I like to start at the top and sides first. Think about the sun when it naturally kisses it. I'm just going to weave my first one out here. And I am actually using Kenra No Ammonia Lightener in white. And I absolutely love this lightener. If you do like a 1:2 ratio, you're going to get what I normally would do in the foils. You're still going to get that creamy consistency, but it's going to be a little more manageable for you to get through. Now, when I want to do balayage or hand painting, I like to do a 1:1 ratio. I'm very passionate about what I do, and I think that shows. It shows in my work. It shows to my clients, and because of that, it builds that trust and that relationship that's important to keep your clients. It's more on that experience you can give them. So I like to give them not only something that they have, but they can take home and use for years to come. Kenra has all their videos online and also explains all their products. So if there's questions, there's always that education there, which I absolutely love. I'm going to go in with a diagonal and also do more of that weave. That will give you that kind of same effect up here throughout the rest of the hair. So I usually start about the corner here, and I bring, because with her, she needs that dark underbase kind of for her skin tone, and it's kind of keeping that natural. So I usually leave at least the outer ridge. I typically leave a little, about this much out, about the same amount as you would leave between these folds. I like to leave out on this, so that you get that kind of same even look each way. Okay, so now that we're at the back, we are going to actually do some hand painting, which is my favorite. I kind of took the two down the middle and made 2 sections here, and I'm going to take out some V sections It does get a little messier when you're doing that, but again, that's why I'm using the ammonia-free lightener white, and I mixed a 1:1 ratio. It gives me that toothpaste consistency. It gives you a little more control. If I have a natural curly client, for instance, I might let it go a little bit and watch that natural pattern so I can really give them a natural result. Whereas with more of a straight or wave, I pull it somewhat tighter. So I like the smaller Kenra brushes because I think it gives me a little more control. When I do balayage, same way, like the sun kiss. So when you're in the back, if you ever look at a child's hair, it's a little lighter towards that bottom and a little darker as it gets towards the top. So I typically start at my bottom because I want a thorough saturation there. But then I get a feather up. I make about like a V. So I go on the left side and then the right side, kind of feathering that up. If you want closer to the hairline result, I just lightly feather at the hairline and I get a little heavier as I come towards that bottom. I like to actually use my fingers more to give it a melt. So I'm taking one on each side. Now as I work towards the top, I might pull separate strands. I like to take, maybe let's say the top, they went a little closer to the scalp and maybe not as throughout. So I will grab like maybe a piece here and a piece there. Like I said, you can be just as creative as you want or as technical as you want with this, which is what I really love. As I do that, I'm just kind of working that through. Like I said, applying a little more pressure as I get towards the bottom or the ends. And then where the dark meets the light, I also do a little feathering in between. I feel that gives it that nice blend. I take my next section down and I do another V, but this time I do in the middle. Now there's no right or wrong when it comes to your hand painting because it's just that. It's the creative part of the whole thing. Now if you let it lay on top, you're going to get more of that natural kind of sun-kissed look. If you work it in a little bit where I am doing towards the end, you're going to get a lighter result. You know, you don't have to go out and buy separate lighteners just so that you can balayage. They kind of provide it all in one. So it's another thing I really love. They really took everything that we talked about wanting and made it possible. So again, I did one here, so I'm going to come up here and I'm going to split that in half and do two. And I lightly let them fall. And once it's applied correctly, as it falls, it shouldn't bleed onto your next color as long as you're just kind of leaving it on that top layer. Now it's right, I kind of let my creativity come through, and I may take a little smaller or a little bigger. So then I'm kind of imagining the way it's falling. By the way, her hair, when I did my consultation, the way her hair fell, and I take all of those things into consideration to kind of get the best possible color for her. So then we let that process. I will go back in through here, and I want to put her root color that we used to cover the gray, and I want to run that through just to give her a little bit of contrast. So after we rinse out the color, I decided to tone. I wanted to get a little of that warmed out, kind of neutralize some of it, but also wanted a little bit cooler result. So I actually used a demi-permanent, the SV 5-minute rapid toner. The ratio for that, you would use the 9 volume that comes with the demi-permanent series, and you use 1 to 2 on the demi. I process about the 5 minutes. We're ready for the cut. Now she kind of spoke to me a little bit about, she has a finer texture hair, so she doesn't want that stringiness to happen here at the bottom. We're gonna go a little bit. She was to bring about like mid-neck, and then bring it down closer to that front. She did talk about maybe a little side bang. She would like to kind of bring out her eyes and just have a little something. I'm actually going to start in my perimeter here as my guide. For these, I like them to give it a slight curve under because she also is a mom, so she doesn't have a lot of extra time to be doing her hair. It's actually a great style for that. She can with blow dry and go. So I'm just going to start here, always keeping in mind where I want. And some like to cut before. I prefer after. Because like I mentioned before, I always like to imagine the whole time where I'm headed. Now to have that angle slightly over direct to that hair, basically bringing all of that kind of to the middle. I typically point cut all of everything except for my perimeter. And then once I dry, I go in and add a little texture with some texture shears, kind of soften the areas that might need softened. Now here, what I do is I pull the hair up and I kind of cut from underneath so that it's technically a little bit shorter under. That'll just help that hair kind of force it to curl itself on. I just want to thank you for listening and for this wonderful opportunity. I'm really excited to see where this could take not only myself, but Kenra Professional. Thank you.